Yang Berhormat Dato' Chua Tee Yong, the Deputy Minister of International Trade and Industry, representing Dato' Sri Mustafa bin Muhammad, the Minister. Her Excellency Ms. Kamala Shiri Lakdil, the Ambassador of the United States to Malaysia. Yang Berbahagia Dato' N. Rajendran, Deputy CEO of MIDA. Mr. Warren Wang, the Senior Vice President and President of Asia Pacific Boston Scientific, welcome. Mr. Dave Mitchell, Vice President of Operations, Boston Scientific, Malaysia. We are very proud to have you as a Penang night. Dr. Lu Lilian, the CEO of West Penang. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, the valuable staff of Boston Scientific, a very good morning and salam bersih to everyone. Today I am very honored to be here at the long-awaited official opening ceremony of Boston Scientific's manufacturing plant in Asia. We are very proud because Boston Scientific is a valued Fortune 500 company, one of the world's leading medical devices company, and also amongst the world's most innovative, as named in the top 100 global innovators by Clarivat Analytics. When I say long-awaited, it does not mean there were delays. No, there were no delays. Long-awaited because we, just like Her Excellency, we couldn't wait to be here for the opening. And why is it we couldn't wait to be here for the opening? Because just to have the brand name Boston Scientific emblazoned in Penang is a real treat. Because it signifies the importance of Penang, not just as an electronics cluster, but also as a medical devices cluster, a world-class cluster. Thank you, Boston Scientific. I also like to acknowledge the presence of the local assemblyman, Yang Berhormat Sir Lip Chi, the assemblyman for Jawi, and also the assemblyman from Aitam, my political secretary, Yang Berhormat Wong Mun Wai, and the number 2 person in the local council, engineer Haja Rusnani binti Muhammad, who is here today. All my top people in local councils all have scientific backgrounds. They are either engineers, architects, valuers, or surveyors. All have scientific background because we want to promote science and tech. So I also like to welcome Dato' Chua Tee Yong, representing Dato' Sri Mustafa Muhammad, of course Her Excellency the Ambassador of the United States to Malaysia, and Mr. Warren Wong, who has come all the way from Singapore to attend today's event. As I said, we are just tremendously proud to have you here. I do not need to, of course, list out the achievements of Boston Scientific. I'm sure they don't need for me to roll out the accolades that you received previously. I also would not want to also mention the successes of Penang in terms of attracting investments. Dato' Chua Tee Yong can do that much better than me. After all, last year I think Penang had a very good year. For the first half we were number 1, for the 3 quarters we were number 2, and we hope to be number 1 for the whole year. So we will wait the news from Dato' Chua Tee Yong either today or in March. What will be the results for Penang? Because after all, Penang is still a part of Malaysia. Any successes to Penang is also a success for Malaysia. And what I would like to share with everyone here is the word that I think Ms. Kamala used just now, partnership. Not just community partnership. Now we believe that if Penang is to progress, has a developed state, we must of course achieve international status. We must also be an intelligent state, an intelligent city. Now, of course, to do that, we must not forget the success stories, whether in the States or in Europe, where there is freedom, where there is rule of law, where there is good governance. So for us, in Penang, we are very focused on creating the necessary conditions, not just to attract investments or marquee names like Boston Scientific, but also to create that ecosystem that would entice companies, world-class brand names like Boston Scientific to come to Penang. I was very proud when Dave mentioned just now that 90% of the construction was sourced locally. And when I say sourced locally, I don't mean outside Penang. Sourced locally in Penang. It is not just the CNS, it's also the M&E. And for a world-class high-tech company like Boston Scientific, M&E is critical because you need to make sure the electronic side, the electrical side is done properly. And to choose a Penang company who has the wherewithal, to have what it takes to fulfill your exacting standards, shows that our local contractors are world class. And as Dave mentioned just now, they fulfill the requirements, allowing Boston Scientific not only to save time, but also to save costs. Because if you have to bring it from outside, you will only inflate or escalate the cost, as well as, of course, lose time, and you probably take much longer to get this facility online. So we are very proud that we have this ecosystem built up. But again, as I said just now, for Penang to succeed, we are relentlessly focused on pursuing excellence. As Warren Buffett has said, when he talked about wealth, creating wealth, he mentioned two critical success factors for wealth creation. Number one, productivity. Number two, innovation. But how do you engender or generate productivity and encourage innovation? Education, of course, is important, especially in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is much more crucial now with the advent of Industry 4.0. When you look at big data analytics, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, robotics, fintech, the full works. And artificial intelligence is everything. It is incumbent upon the state government to train our workforce to be familiar with STEM subjects. And that's why when you talk about generating productivity and innovation, education, especially in STEM subjects. But that's not sufficient. Education in itself is not sufficient. You also must have good governance. You also must have good governance to create the environment required. And thirdly, of course, we must also have the ecosystem. The ecosystem must be present, as I mentioned earlier, rule of law, pursuit of excellence, and the necessary support from the other companies to make sure that you have a holistic picture or a holistic environment to push the success forward. And finally, as I mentioned, partnership, community partnership. Penang, we are not talking about 3 Ps. We are talking about 4 Ps. So we are a bit different when we talk about partnerships. And what do you mean by 4 Ps? Public, first P is public. Private, people. You must get buy-in, public buy-in. And fourthly, you must have professional support. People, public, private, people, and professional partnership. All 4 combined together. And it is this 4P partnership, a unique 4P partnership Penang, that allow Penang to achieve the successes we have today. I'm not only talking about electronics. I'm not only talking about investments. I'm not talking about tourism, which has seen tremendous growth. I'm just talking about a very simple but important element of a livable city: cleanliness. Cleanliness. Now, Penang, before 2008, was known as the dirtiest state in Malaysia. So bad that it was called Pulau Pinang Taru Sampah. That means Penang, the rubbish state. When we took over, we knew that this was one of our KPIs, how to make Penang cleaner. And I'm pleased to announce that through this 4P partnership, relentless cooperation and collaboration with the private sector, the people, and also the professional groups. Professional groups also want to live in a clean environment. I'm happy to announce that we have received a letter of recognition from the Tourism and Culture Ministry, the Ministry of Dato Sri Nasri Aziz, congratulating Penang of being selected as an ASEAN Clean City. In other words, we are no longer now one of the cleanest cities in Malaysia. We are now one of the cleanest cities in ASEAN. And this is due in no small part to this 4P partnership, as I mentioned. Our next challenge, of course, is how to make Penang to be a center of excellence for science and tech. And that's where our focus on education is laser-like on science and tech, especially STEM education. If they have the time, I'd like you to visit our digital library, the only and the first digital library in Malaysia, open 24 hours. Our Penang Tech Dome, Science Discovery Center, our Penang Science Cluster, that even the Princess of Thailand came to Penang to visit, and also our STEM centers, where we do coding classes. In fact, we have spent 6 million ringgit to do coding classes over 3 years, where we will be teaching free coding classes to 120,000 primary and secondary students over 3 years. Now, this is where we are going. But we cannot do it all. We need, again, your assistance. As I mentioned, 4P partnership. The last P is the professionals. You need to come in and help us to make Penang a center of excellence for science and tech. Can or not? I'm sure Boston Scientific can do that. So once again, let me again congratulate Boston Scientific on your excellent 375,000 square feet facility. As I mentioned just now, just stepping into this facility, I mean, I feel that as if I'm back in the States, You know, when I go to the United States, I see the facilities, not just of Boston Scientific, but many multinational corporations here. They are no different. What you see here is also what you get in the United States. And for that success, I'd like to congratulate Dave for a job well done. To the 400 local employees here who are employed, gainfully employed, I must say that this is a privilege for everyone to be able to work with Boston Scientific, just as it's an honor for us to have Boston Scientific here. I think it's a privilege for Malaysians to be associated with Boston Scientific. Because when you go out into the industrial world or you go out in the market, they ask you where you're from. You mention Boston Scientific, you see their eyes light up. Wow! Now that is the impact of Boston Scientific. And I'm sure you have made the right choice coming to Penang. I'm sure you have chosen correctly in Batu Kawan. You know, Batu Kawan in Malay, you do a direct translation. It means friendship engraved in stone. Either friendship engraved in stone or friendship set in stone? Friendship set in stone. From batu, kawan. Friendship set in stone. So I'm sure that this is not only a beginning of a beautiful relationship, but this will also be a productive and profitable investment for Boston Scientific. Thank you, congratulations, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to invite the Honorable Ms. Kamalashi Labir, Ambassador of the United States to Malaysia.
Okay. We are leaders in all of those spaces, and we have been for 35 years. Okay? So what you see on the wall here is an example of a product. We're going to show you the production line, and I'll show you the product when we get there. So this valve sits in, and there's different sizes.
So you can actually compress it.
Yes, that's right. Like a pencil.
The trick is a pen. The trick is to sew this.
We built this plant for the future. Okay? From a fit and finish and safety perspective.